Badass of the Week is produced by High Five Content and $7 Productions.
January 31st, 1968. Chow Pao, South Vietnam. The air is thick with smoke and the metallic smell of blood. The city around him, once a symbol of stability, is now a labyrinth of hostile fire. The Tet offensive has smashed the peace, and the Viet Cong have flooded in. Dix is cut off. His backup is miles away. He's got his rifle, a couple extra magazines of 5.56, a handful of grenades, and the cold steel of his combat knife. He looks up and sees the enemy. Shapes running along the rooftops, battalions of them swarming on the main street. They own this town. But Dix isn't focused on the odds. He's focused on the hostages. American nurses, civilian advisors, local families, innocent people trapped in buildings, surrounded by men who will give them no quarter. He knows what happens if the VC consolidate their hold. He knows the fate of these civilians. So, Sergeant Drew Dix makes a decision that goes beyond duty. It goes beyond logic. He looks at those overwhelming forces, and he ignores them. He's not there to fight a battle. He's there to save lives. He chambers around, checks his pockets. He's outnumbered, outgunned, and alone in a city that is about to become a war zone. Forget holding the line. Forget calling for help. Drew Dennis Dix is about to take on this whole damn enemy-occupied town single-handedly.
Hello, and welcome back to Badass of the Week. My name is Ben Thompson, and I am joined once again by badass producer and part-time co-host Andrew Jacobs. Andrew, welcome back to the show. Every time you are here, I feel like we're going to have a gunfight.
A gunfight. I like that.
I feel like
you and me, or someone in our show.
Weapons are going to be drawn.
Yes. I was like, I feel like we've got a pretty good, solid working relationship. I wasn't sensing the tension that you are bringing to my attention suddenly.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't mention that I always feel like I need to pull a weapon whenever I see you.
It's like, I am going to shoot you.
No, we always have, there's certain types of badasses. There's badasses of all shapes and sizes and colors. And sometimes when I have Pat on, or sometimes when I have a different guest on, we'll talk about a different kind of badass, somebody who, might not have, done badass things involving direct action violence. But generally when I feel like you're on, it's a pretty, I don't know what you call it, like a right down the middle fastball badass.
Yeah, I'm a very meat and potatoes sort of guy when it comes to my badasses. No, I mean, yeah, it's true. You and Pat and some other folks, you guys often get into some of the more cerebral badasses. So now I'm thinking I got to come up with one of those that's going to surprise everyone. But
no, it's
yes,
fine. We got to do this. We got to do this every once in a while.
I love a good explosion and a slow motion machine gun action scene. Absolutely.
Yes.
That is, really fun, badass stuff.
And that's what we're going to be doing today. There's going to be a lot of gunfights and explosions and slow motion machine guns.
Oh yeah.
This episode is going to be coming out on Veterans Day, and as such, we want to try to honor some veterans. So we've picked a really good one today. It's a story that's I think not like super well known, but it's a really good one. And there's going to be a lot of action and adventure and heroic rescues and gunfights and all the stuff that we were talking about.
There's literally a damsel in distress at one point, which is
yes.
I mean, who wrote this ththing?
Right. Yeah. There's boat chases. There's knife fighting. There's damsels in distress. There's all kinds of everything. Like this is set up as an action movie in every possible sense.
This was definitely one of the Rambo movies, right? Like, I'm going to admit, I haven't seen all of the Rambo movies, but I assume that one of them is just this, and they just renamed this guy John Rambo.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Rambo was a Green Beret, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, we are going to tell the story of a Medal of Honor recipient who went in over the course of something like 56 hours in Vietnam and performed some very heroic, very dangerous operations. So we are going to have, like you said, a straight up the middle fastball, badass action adventure, destruction, mayhem, chaos, all kinds of good stuff. And we're going to talk about that when we come back from these messages. All right, welcome back to Badass of the Week. I am here with producer Andrew Jacobs, and we are going to talk about Drew Dennis Dix. He is a Medal of Honor recipient from Pueblo, Colorado, and he grew up in Pueblo, and from a young age, he always knew that he wanted to be a Green Beret, which you were talking about. Rambo, Green Beret is the special forces. They are kind of the best of the best. And his father, Drew's father, was in the military, and they had a family friend that had been a Green Beret. And growing up, he was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I'm sure of it. So, okay. So in 1962, he turns 18 years old, and he goes down to the local recruiting office to, tell them that he wants to be a Green Beret. But there's one thing about that, whereas at 18, you're old enough to get into the military, but you're not old enough to be a Green Beret. You have to be 21 for that.
Okay.
So, okay. He's like, all right, well, what's the most badass?
How do I get, where do I start?
Yeah. It's the most badass thing I could sign up for. So he got there, and he's not old enough to join the Green Berets. So he kind of goes to the recruiter, and he's like, what do you got? What's the next best thing?
Yeah. How else can I just kick some ass? Right,
exactly. So they assign him to the 82nd Airborne Division. So he becomes a paratrooper, which is, in the 82nd Airborne, is extremely badass. There's one of the toughest airborne units in the United States military and henceforth the world. He joins the 82nd. He serves for 3 years. He does a stint in the Dominican Republic in 1965, where there's an operation where there was a communist uprising in the Dominican Republic that was kind of backed by Cuba and Russia. And so he goes in 65 and gets into some gunfights in the Dominican Republic to put down that uprising.
Minor details. We don't talk about that one, apparently.
No, I don't feel like that gets a lot of media attention.
No.
But there were American soldiers in the Dominican Republic in 1965. So, okay. So he's there, and then he decides he's going to sign up for the Special Forces. As soon as he turns 21, that's what he wants. So Green Berets is a very difficult training program. They have a really high washout rate. And, I don't know if you ever watched these documentaries on what it takes to be a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret or one of these special forces guys, but the training is not it's not a fun weekend.
It seems like they're always trying to drown the guys.
Yes.
The number one thing, can you survive being tied up, weighted down, and we just leave you there?
Yeah, we'll just drown you in the ocean. If you make it out, we'll gas you and see if you can get through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of shivering and throwing up whenever I watch those kinds of things. So no fun, but he does it, and he succeeds, and he gets the Green Beret that he's been waiting for basically his entire life. So congratulations, Drew Dix. You've gotten your Green Beret, and now your reward is that you get to be on the first helicopter to the Mekong Delta in South Vietnam. So...
What a prize.
You're looking for action, you're going to find some action. Here we go.
Yeah.
So he flies out to the jungle, and the Green Beret are attached to the CIA on some super secret missions that are on, let's generously say, they are on the Vietnamese border with Cambodia.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this earlier on. There's a really early episode where we talked about Robert Howard, who was in the Special Operations Group in this region as well. And it didn't become really it didn't become declassified until very recently that they finally admitted, like, yes, we were in Cambodia and we weren't supposed to be. But, you know, in their defense, the Vietnamese were in Cambodia moving troops through there to attack South Vietnam, and I don't know.
Yeah, what's a border? You know.
So he is, you know, this is Mission Impossible. This is the secretary will disavow all knowledge of your existence if you're caught or captured in Cambodia, kind of a situation. But he's operating with Vietnamese troops and a small group of CIA-backed Green Berets, and they are disrupting operations on the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Cambodia, like small units raiding, fighting guerrillas, sneaking around enemy positions, doing recon stuff. Really, really dangerous work. And we're a very small number of Americans were facing a lot of North Vietnamese and Viet Cong.
Like I said, it's very Rambo.
Yes, exactly. Super secret missions. We don't know the details of all of them, but I'm sure they were harrowing. So he ends up at some point in a city called Chao Pao, which is in South Vietnam. And one of his missions there, and the Green Berets are interesting among American special forces because they don't always deploy specifically to like hit an enemy location. Green Berets embed with local troops. So they would be mixed in with the South Vietnamese army and with the South Vietnamese people. And Green Berets, a lot of times they can speak foreign language. They can speak the local language. And he was part of a team that was trying to establish like a pro-South Vietnam presence in this city. Because, you know, at this time in the Vietnam War, the Viet Cong is kind of a guerrilla force that's operating in the South that's trying to destabilize South Vietnam. And he's trying to work against that with his guys. Okay, so, all right, there's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of trying to like win hearts and minds. And it's in 1968 that there is a truce called. So the war is dragging on. You know, Vietnam, I don't think this is like controversial to say, Vietnam was a sticky situation, and there's a lot of fighting. And at some point towards the end of January of 68, there is a truce declared between North Vietnam and South Vietnam. It's the Vietnamese New Year, and they're going to take 2 days off, and we're not going to fight for 2 days. We're going to take a break.
Ben, what did they call that New Year?
That is called Tet. That's the name of the Vietnamese New Year. Yeah,
sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I bet you're going to tell me why.
Yeah, Tet is the name of the New Year, and they called the truce during Tet, and yeah. The how have you heard of Tet before?
Something about offense.
Yes. Okay.
I think it's like a Stanford style football term, yes. Right?
That's the old style, the T formation.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, so what happens here is they call a truce, and Drew Dix, he doesn't really buy it when the truce is happening. He's embedded, he knows what's going on, he sees weird stuff is happening in the area, and so even though there's a truce, he goes out on a recon mission to see what's up, and he runs into some enemy, and he gets into a fight with them. So he gets into this little skirmish with some enemy troops. He's going down the river, and he runs into some enemy troops, and then he's like, you know, he realizes he's down there with 2 Navy SEALs and a couple of South Vietnamese guys. And he's like, something's up. This is weird. Like, you know, I think they might not be honoring this truce. I think they might be doing a Tet offensive. And
I think that is definitely what he thought. He's like, this is some kind of Tet offensive.
They start shooting him, and he's like, that's offensive.
On Tet? Come on.
So him and these 2 SEALs, they're like, we got to get back to Chao Pao and see what's going on. So they get in this boat, this inflatable boat, and they start riding up the river. And as they're getting within distance of the city, there's just like Vietnamese army everywhere. Like they've moved into the city, and they've set up a defensive position around the city. And he's riding up there in like a, you know, you've probably seen these in like movies, like World War II movies or Vietnam movies or something, but it is an inflatable boat with a motor on it. And it's these three guys and they're just being shot at by like heavy machine guns from everywhere, all over the place, firing guns at these guys.
You never see those boats get shot and like just deflate.
Yeah, there must be something to it,
Just saying.
Yeah, it'd be a very like inglorious way to like have your boat stage.
Your boat just like deflates and you're like sinking in the middle of the delta.
Yeah, I've seen that happen in swimming pools before with inner tubes.
Yeah. Someone's got to look into this.
Yes, but they're not designed to be shot at. So they're designed to be quiet. And he's riding up there, and he kind of, the way he describes it, he says it was a little bit like Normandy. Except in Normandy, there were like, you were in an armored boat with a bunch of other boats that were targets. And this is just these three dudes in one boat getting shot at by machine guns. And he goes flying up the river and is like, we got to get out of here. So they pull off to the side. They somehow survive. They infiltrate into the city of Chow Pao, and they find that like it is completely overrun by the North Vietnamese. So it's a combined offensive between the North Vietnamese army, which is like the official army of North Vietnam. And then you have the Viet Cong, who are the guerrilla troops who are operating out of South Vietnam. And they've both like overtaken the city. They say there's the possibility is somewhere around like 2 battalions is how the Medal of Honor citation lists it, which would be like 2,000 guys. When Staff Sergeant Dix is talking about it, he says like, I think they were expecting to take the city by force, and they were surprised at how easily they just walked in and took it because there was nobody there.
Because it was a truce.
Right, because there was a truce. All the guys had gone home, though. The South Vietnamese army went home. And so, he pulls up. He tries to find some local guys. He's like, what's up? And he finds the compound where some of the other South Vietnamese troops are, and they're like, yeah, we lost, like it's over. They've taken every major government building. They're killing or capturing anybody they can get their hands on that's associated with us. American, South Vietnamese, we're in big trouble. We've lost. Let's get the hell out of here.
Sounds reasonable.
Sounds completely reasonable. Yes, they've attacked. We weren't ready. We've lost. Let's get out of here while we're still alive. But Drew Dix is not the kind of he's not the kind of badass that
he's not a reasonable man.
He's not a reasonable man. he is if we're gonna keep the Rambo analogy going, this is the sequence where he's like, you can get out of here, I got work to do. Yeah. And then we just get like the montage of like loading ammunition into clips and like strapping grenades on, just putting a knife in and stuff, like heroic music.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, do we know all these hostages are dead? And they're like, no, but they're probably all dead. There's a lot of shooting. And he's like, let's be sure. Let's find out if we can get anybody out of here. So him and 2 Navy SEALs and just a small handful of guys, less than 6 people. And he's like, all right, everybody just follow me. We're gonna go rescue people. Okay. So that's the plan. And I think maybe we should take a really quick commercial break, and then we come back. We'll tell the story of the river city. Chow Pao is known as the River City because it's on the river. And so I always think River City Ransom. I don't know if you ever played that game. But,
no, I didn't, but that's fun.
An old Nintendo game where you just like, it's 2 guys and they have to beat up like this entire army. It's like a Double Dragon kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be dealing with when we come back. So
Great.
Stick with us. Okay, welcome back to Badass of the Week. I am here with Andrew Jacobs, and we are things when we last saw Drew Dix were looking bad, and Chow Pao is completely in enemy hands, and there are a lot of American and South Vietnamese civilians who are captured or being killed. Things are bad.
Yeah, it's things are popping off in Chow Pao.
Yes. Okay. So
he decides, okay, who are we going to go for? So there's a woman that lives near the base. Her name is Maggie, and she is a nurse. She's an American nurse. She's been coming into she does a lot of the medical treatment for wounded soldiers, and she's been also working with the local population to kind of provide basic medical care when she can. She's friends with these guys, and she lives nearby, and he's like, all right, that's where we're going first. We're going to go find Maggie. So him and these two SEALs, they move over there, and he's like, I'm running to Maggie's house, and I can just see dudes with AK-47s running around on the rooftops everywhere.
Oh, geez.
They're everywhere. They're in windows. They're moving around. He's like, and these guys are wearing their uniforms, running with their gear. They're trying not to get spotted, but they're like, man, this is big trouble. So they run around to find her house, and they get around the back, and there's a gate, and the gate's locked, and they're hearing all kinds of gunfire and stuff all over the place. And so they're kind of trying to figure out, we can't get over the gate. It's locked. What's going on? And then there's hearing all this shooting, and Drew is like, okay, what am I gonna do? He's like, Dennis Dix, he's like, okay, he's like, and he just is like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. He's like, Maggie, Maggie, are you in there? And then there's this interview with her. Yeah, there's an interview with her, and she's just like, yeah, she's like, I'm in there, and everything's getting shot up, and the city's falling, and then I just hear some dude whispering my name. So I go to the window and I look out, and he's like, Maggie, where's the keys? I need to get in. He's like, and I said it, and I knew it sounded completely ridiculous when I said it, but I don't know. He's like, I tried to shoot the lock, but that didn't work. That only works in the movies.
I was going to say, there's all this shooting going around. Shoot the lock, man.
Right. But yeah. He's like, I tried. It didn't work. He tried to kick it and tried to shoot it. Doesn't work.
The movies. So
yeah,
asking for the keys is a pretty good idea.
Mm-hmm. She was like, I got lucky because the ceiling had collapsed, and I went into the room where the keys usually are. The ceiling had collapsed, but it was actually really easy. I only had to move a little bit of rubble to find the keys. Cool. Great. So she throws him the keys. He goes in, and as he's going in, she's like, oh, look out, because there's three North Vietnamese guys literally ran right past her down the hallway carrying their guns. And she's like, look out. There's 3 dudes coming your way.
Yeah.
They didn't see me, or she's like, they looked at me and I looked at them, and we were both like, what the hell? And so anyway, they have to bust in there, and they have to kind of go in there guns blazing, and they take these guys out, and they get her, and they bring her back to the compound. And at this point, he's trying to gather dudes to help fight off this attack. The South Vietnamese army was not present when the attack came, but there are guys in the city, and he needs to get them. So he gets her to safety, and he starts trying to rally guys to defend this one little area. And it comes down to any South Vietnamese soldier he can find, regular dudes, just guys that can grab a rifle. Do you want the Viet Cong here? No, here's a rifle. Help me. Point it this way. Don't point it at me. And they start running around trying to find stuff. So one of these SEALs at this point, he gets killed by a mortar. So they're coming under mortar fire. They're coming under machine gun fire. One of these SEALs that's with him, I don't have the guy's name. I wish I did. But he's killed in action by a mortar. And now the Vietnamese know that he's here. And he starts he's like, okay, well, I got to go for the big, there's a big downtown office building where some guys are holed up and they're fighting. So he's like, I know there's some guys on our side or left. They're fighting the enemy in this office building downtown. So Dix gets these guys, and he starts to charge the building. And as he's charging them, he's being fired at by heavy machine guns, mortars, RPGs. They have RPGs. And he gets to this building. He comes in the back door, and he just starts fighting. Him and his guys are fighting door to door in this office building. It's completely overrun. There's eight dudes in there, 8 civilians that are in there, trying to hold off this attack. And he gets in there. They take the building. They kill everybody, all the North Vietnamese soldiers they can find there. They rescue these 8 civilians. Then he at one point, while he's under attack, he finds himself solo, and he's got his M16. He's got his grenades. He
goes into this room and there's like 8 guys in there, and he kills all of them with his machine gun, his grenades, and then the last guy, he has to get him with a knife.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
This is like some John Wick style, like, if like just like endless bad guys that he's just one after another. I gotta wonder, because you said this is like, we're like at this point, how many hours into this are we? Because like, at what point does your like adrenaline like run out? Right?
Yeah.
At some point you need to be like, I'm tired, boss. Like
I always thought about that when I would watch 24. I remember 24. Like at some point, it's just like, it's like, man, I can't make it that long without going to sleep. I get tired.
Jack Bauer like never stopped for like a coffee,
Yeah, it just doesn't close his eyes.
Like slump down in a chair and like just like, I need 5 guys. Just give me 5.
I got a rock in my shoe. I need a cup of coffee. I need 2 Adderall.
I mean, like I get home. I need 5 after like I put my kids to bed.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to somehow figure out how to insert adrenaline into that situation.
Right. No, it's been hours. So he is he goes and he rescues the nurse. He goes and he rescues these 8 civilians in the office building downtown. He busts into this other building, and there's these 2 Filipino aid workers who are there to do like NGO kind of stuff, help the population. They're wounded in a mortar attack. He goes in there, pulls them, knifes that guy, grenades people, machine guns them, grabs these 2 wounded people, pulls them out, gets them to safety, and like drags them out of the building himself. And this is all kind of happening over the course of the sun is coming up, right? They've been doing this for hours. And he's already saved 11 people. He's killed who knows how many of the enemy.
Sounds like dozens.
Dozens, yes. And so but as he's going through, he's collecting men to fight with him. When he started, it was him and 2 SEALs. Then he picked up like 5 or 6 North Vietnamese or South Vietnamese guys. And by this point, this guy's just like this one-man army. I picture like a video game. I picture him like circle strafing around.
Yeah.
But he starts picking people up because those South Vietnamese guys that were like, we've lost, at some point, they're like, well, I mean, we'll just follow this guy.
Yeah.
So he ends up picking up like 20 to 30 guys, which is still not that many considering there's probably like somewhere between 200 and 1,000 of the enemy in the city. But they start fighting house to house, clearing all of these buildings. And he was like, one thing I wanted to make sure was that, I didn't take a building and then move out and have them move back in. He was like, so the good thing was every time we took a building, a couple of these guys would get wounded, so I could just leave them there. I just leave the wounded guys to shoot out the windows if any bad guys showed up. And so he's leaving them in groups of 2s and 3s in all the buildings he's capturing. And then it was funny. I was watching an interview with him, and he was like, if only we dealt with like the entire campaign in South Vietnam that way, we might have prevented them from coming back and retaking towns after we left. But okay.
I mean, he's Rambo, but with a brain.
Yes.
Nah, Rambo was kind of I think smart. I don't know. I didn't watch enough of those Rambo movies. It's tough to tell.
He becomes dumber as the movies continue, as the series goes on. I think just head injuries.
That sounds about right.
So he's positioning these guys to defend easily defendable areas to keep the North Vietnamese from circling around behind him and shooting him in the back. Mm-hmm. And then he just keeps moving forward with his guys. And as he's fighting, he's picking more people up. And at one point, he kind of finds the center of where the enemy force is operating. He kind of identifies where their base is, and he leads his guys on an attack, and he personally goes in there and busts in, and they find the Viet Cong commander of the operation, like the leader for the Tet Offensive in Chow Pao is there with a bunch of his high-ranking staff officers, and like Dix just busts in on them with his guns and his grenades, and they're like, they surrender. They give up.
Yeah.
So he captures the commander of the enemy force and that guy's entire staff, which then reduces command and control of the Vietnamese forces there. And at some point,
I'm the commander now. One of those.
Yeah. Yes.
Look at me.
Look at me. I'm the commander now. Tell your guys to get out of here. Tell your guys to fall back or you're all going to die. Okay, so they do get intelligence from those guys, and one of the pieces of intel they receive from him is that the province chief, the guy in charge of basically he's like the deputy governor of the state, of this Vietnamese state that they're in. He's got his house that's just out of town, and he's been captured. His house has been overrun by the North Vietnamese. And so it's him and his wife and his kids are now being held hostage by communist troops. And so they find that out. And I mean, where do you think this is going, Andrew?
Oh man, sounds like a trip to the country to me.
Yeah, he doesn't radio it in for backup. He doesn't.
This is very much like when you make one of those shows like 24. By the time you get to like episode 14, they're like, shit, we need something new.
Yeah,
where can we go now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to the country.
Yeah, so they get him. And they find out that, like, okay, the deputy governor is actually imprisoned with his family. And then I feel like this is like the hard cut to like the real bad guy with them and being jerks in the house or whatever.
And they're all tied up and very scared looking. Mm-hmm. Please don't hurt me.
Yep. Yeah. And then just like knock.
Yeah.
Kick front door. And Drew Dix there with double AKs.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it goes.
Yep. Knock. Yeah, they go in and they get him. They go in, they bust in the door. They kill every person defending every North Vietnamese troop defending the house. They rescue the family with no injuries. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like the end of Clear and Present Danger or something.
I mean, it's funny because like I feel like we keep like having these like movie comps for these situations, and this is obviously real situation, real people, like all of that stuff, but it's one that's like our only like frame, to some degree our only frame of reference, right? That's like our experience of these things is through the movies and through the screen. But right. Also this story is so over the top that like if I were to sit down and to describe it to like a screenwriter, I'd be like, and then there's a family and they're being held hostage by the bad guys. It sounds like it just sounds, yeah.
They'd be like, oh, we've seen this before. Up. Like, yeah, this is a little...
Yeah. Can't you come up with something new? Yeah, it sounds made up.
It does. But, yes, so 56 hours of combat in Chow Pao. Drew Dix shows up by himself. I think about Leo Major and Zwol, where he, like, personally retook Zwol. And, yeah, Dennis Dix shows up. And he fights for 56 hours. He organizes the defense. All these guys were on vacation. They went home for like New Year's, right? And they all got to he's got to wake them all up and get their guns, get their uniforms on, get out there. This is it's a provincial capital, so it's a big city. He retakes it. They say that over 200 North Vietnamese and Viet Cong soldiers were killed in action, like during the fighting. And Dix himself is credited with personally accounting for somewhere between 14 and 40 of those himself. The enemy commander and 19 of his staff are captured. The provincial governor is rescued. The nurse is rescued. The aid workers are rescued. Members of the South Vietnamese government are rescued. The city is liberated from North Vietnamese hands. And this guy had single-handedly attacked a heavily garrisoned city. He was outnumbered at times maybe 1,000 to 1 if you just count it being him. And 14 civilians minimum were rescued over the course of 56 hours of fighting.
Not too shabby. I imagine him at the end of the day, he's like standing on the shore of the river, smoking a cigar and saying something like, "Happy New Year's, you bastards."
That'll teach them to disrespect the Tet holiday.
Yeah, exactly. Tosses his cigar down, hops in his little raft and drives it off into the sunset, where
the cigar
he's to
lights
fight
a
another
trail
battle. battle.
gasoline that blows up the bad guys.
Something blows up. Yeah, definitely. Explosion in the background. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
And so this is one of those things where we talked about this with Robert Howard and with a couple of other people where a lot of the stuff that the Green Berets were doing during Vietnam were, classified enough that some of these guys didn't actually receive medals until their work was declassified, which is like the 90s, the 1990s, 2000s. Some of this stuff started to come out that's like, okay, actually, we were maybe a little bit in Cambodia, but these guys actually did some really heroic stuff.
Lost my map.
But that's not what happens with Dennis Dix. He gets in 1969, so like a year later, when all this stuff comes out, because what he did was so intense, and he was getting all of these the South Vietnamese commander is recommending him for medals. The governor's like, he saved my family. Like, you got to do something. We've got to do something for this guy. And in 1969, he becomes the first ever Green Beret to receive the Medal of Honor. Green Berets were a relatively new idea at that time, and he'd been wanting to be one his whole life, and he was one, and then he became the first one to receive a Medal of Honor. And the funny bit with him is, he did this whole thing, this whole River City Ransom thing, and in 1969, he gets news from his commanding officer with Fifth Special Forces, is like, hey, Dennis, you're going to get the Medal of Honor. And Dennis Dix is like, oh, okay, for what? Which battle? So
yeah, there's a commander's office like, I don't know.
I don't know. Probably Chow Pao, but I'm not sure.
Just go with it.
There's a couple others.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the White House. He receives it from Lyndon Johnson like 3 days before Lyndon Johnson leaves office. There's a story where he's talking about it, and he's like, they had a joint group where they had an Army guy, an Air Force guy, Navy guy, and a Marine who were all getting Medals of Honor on the same day. It was going to be the last Medal of Honor ceremony of Johnson's presidency, and they read all the citations out loud. And Johnson was just like, dang, when they read Dix's, and he's like, when he gave me my Medal of Honor, he leaned over and whispered something into my ear that I'm not going to repeat.
Oh, man, that's a shame.
Yeah, I know. But I was like, I have an idea what it could have been, but probably, holy hell, something along those lines. But
I mean, LBJ was famously foul-mouthed, so yeah, that I would have liked to have heard that.
I know.
One of those hot mic moments that
yeah, would have been nice. But he's like, I'm not going to repeat it, but he was impressed by what I did, which he should be. But this is a crazy story, going house to house, retaking the city all by yourself, knifing and grenading and shooting guys, like pretty wild story. But as I mentioned, he didn't know what battle it was for, because he stays in Vietnam. He gets a Bronze Star on top of this for another battle where he's got to fight off North Vietnamese. He does 2 more tours of duty in Vietnam. He goes there with the 101st Airborne. He does another deployment with the Special Forces. And he ends up retiring. Like, he was a staff sergeant, which is kind of a platoon sergeant. He gets promoted to lieutenant after the actions at Chow Pao. He continues to rise through the ranks, and he retires in 1982 as a major, which is a pretty high rank. He did 20 years in the Army, and then when he leaves, he's like, okay, I'm done with Vietnam. I'm going to go to Alaska because there's somewhere else inhospitable. He runs an air service delivering supplies into the Alaskan interior.
Oh, so like a bush pilot type thing. Yes.
Yeah. So he gets a small airplane and he flies it to fly supplies into like hunters and trappers and people in the interior of Alaska, flying like medical supplies and stuff into them, which, is not an easy job, flying an airplane in
No.
Alaska is difficult. I don't know if you watch Ice Road Truckers, but it's a kind of an unforgiving terrain out there.
I saw that Mark Wahlberg Flight Plan movie or what?
Yes.
That is very dangerous if that's what bush piloting in Alaska is like. It's all criminals and whatnot.
I don't think they messed with him after that.
Yeah.
Or if they did, he
wrong dude.
If there's a sequel to the Chow Pao movie, like he didn't mention it. He was like, oh, whatever. It's just gangsters in the wild, like no problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be like The Gray. There's a great Alaska movie. Do you remember that one where
with the
Liam
wolves
Neeson just fighting wolves?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seems like something he could do.
Yeah, he can manage that.
Yeah. I know he did. It sounds like he did work with another badass we got to talk about one of these days, Richard Marcinko.
He did, yes. So we are going to talk about Marcinko one day, but he did work with him doing work to train defenses and like train SEALs and special forces and stuff. So he worked with those guys. We'll get into that when we do the Marcinko episode, when you get into like Red Cell and all that, because that was really cool work. Kind of like training,
like creating SEAL Team 6 and special, it's a whole thing.
And then training like important garrison bases to like battle against infiltration by special forces.
Yes. Yeah. Cool.
So, and then he becomes, after 9/11, he becomes the Deputy Commissioner for Homeland Security to Alaska. So he does that for a while. And, just kind of thinking about Alaskan security, which is kind of a big deal since it borders Russia. And he creates a nonprofit in Pueblo, Colorado, because there's a weird thing with Pueblo, Colorado, where it's a small town in Colorado, a small city in Colorado, but there are 4 Medal of Honor recipients who are from there. And so him and the other 3 guys got together and they built a center for
badassery.
Basically a center of badassery in Pueblo, Colorado. They call it the Home of Heroes. So, pretty cool. And that's it. Drew Dennis Dix is still alive as of the recording of this episode. He's 80 something now. Medal of Honor recipient. Badass. Don't mess with him.
No, do not.
Real life action hero. And I don't know. Did this?
What's the takeaway here?
Yeah, what's the takeaway here?
Oh man, what is the takeaway? I mean, this is just one of those stories when you end up with these guys who in the moment in war where like a Leo Major, where they just they become like this unstoppable force. It's just like, don't get in their way under any circumstances. It doesn't make sense. It's unbelievable stuff.
Right. I mean, 56-hour, they call it the 56-hour war. He single-handedly, he rescued all these people. He wasn't going to leave anybody behind, right? I mean, it started with him just being like, we got to check on the people back here. And then it was like, we got to check on Maggie. And then from there, it's like, all right, let's go, right? Let's, never give up, I guess, is the motto here. One person can do some pretty wild things when they really put their mind to it, I guess. Yeah. Okay, that's the story. That's Badass of the Week. That is Staff Sergeant Dennis Drew Dix, and that's our episode for today. So, Andrew, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to me about gunfights.
Yeah, of course, always. Happy Veterans Day.
All right, and thank you guys so much for listening. We do this every week, so if you like this, please come back next week. And I guess we also want to say thank you. Have a happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all of those who have served in the military in the past. We appreciate your service and all of the effort that goes into what you do. So we really appreciate you. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week with another episode. Badass of the Week is produced by High Five Content and $7 Productions. Executive producers are Dwayne Johnson, Danny Garcia, Andrew Jacobs, Hiram Garcia, Brian Gewirtz, Frankie Chaparino, and of course, me, Ben Thompson. Writing is by me and my semi-regular but always awesome co-host, Dr. Patricia Larish. Story editing by Ian Jacobs.
Our mixing, music, and sound design is done by the incomparable Jude Brewer. Production support by Jean McGale-Waite. Badass of the Week is based on my website, badassoftheweek.com, where you can read all sorts of stories about other badasses. If you want to reach out with questions or ideas, you can email us at badasspodcast@badassoftheweek.com. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, follow, listen, tell your friends, and tell your enemies. And please leave us a review. If you want to support Badass of the Week, please check out our Patreon page. We'll be back next week with another one.